Netrunners, Netrun Eyes, Netrun Ease.
Yeah, that's it.
What I believe to be the most powerful identity has been out and has been out for a while, but I think it's ready to be unsheathed.
Are we going to talk about it next?
After this commercial.
Monster Energy drink.
Send us money, Monster. Next design. Haas-Bioroid. Break it down.
Me? Okay. So,
He can
I got the freaking tripod in the way.
Before taking your first turn, you may install up to 3 pieces of ice with no more than a single piece of ice per server. Draw until you have 5 cards in HQ.
Amazing.
Yeah, start with a free turn. Like 6 extra credits or 6 extra clicks worth of stuff. Phenomenal.
That's even better than Grendel.
Yeah, some might say.
So basically all you need is ice. But I'm going to say, and we're going to start with our format, is the card pool here for next design?
I think the card pool's here. I mean, you want to go just like any aggressive rush deck, which I found is the term. Rush. Not fast advance, rush deck.
Rush deck.
So,
Like a Getty Lee deck?
Getty Lee, yeah.
Yeah.
Canadian.
All of my ideas are going to be based around an HQ or a Haas-Bioroid rush deck. So the card pool is there because Haas-Bioroid has a lot of really good mid-game taxing like ice that they want to res. And they have a lot of early game ice too. The beautiful thing about this, oh, we forgot to mention it's a 45 card limit and 12 influence. So that's kind of whatever. But yeah, I think the card pool's totally here for this. I mean, what do you need? Ice?
Yeah.
Ice and agendas and some income.
Yeah.
And what is that? The biotic efficiency?
Biotic labor?
Biotic labors.
No, the one that reses the
Oh,
the wotons that I walk through.
Bioroid efficiency.
Yeah, Bioroid efficiency. That one.
Card pool?
Card pool, it's there. It was there when the identity came out.
I think it was missing a couple economy.
Yeah, well, it was still usable because at the time everybody was missing those components, right? Like I actually had a next design deck ages ago. I took it to a couple of tournaments. I took it to just a local shindig just before the Plugged In Tour came about, and I came like 2nd place in that tournament, which wasn't too bad.
Andy's terrible, so that's
yeah, I'm a horrible player. So I mean, the only reason I won was because of the deck composition. But then I took it to the Plugged In Tour and just had my arse handed to me. So back then it wasn't as competitive as it is now. That's for sure. That's for sure. Yeah, it was still pretty good back then. It was playable.
Yeah, I agree with Jamie. The income is definitely a lot more in favor.
The cards that you were missing, you know, were the big economy cards that we have now.
Restructure.
Because this deck is you know,
just dying inside every time I bring that card up.
A lot of people talk online about the sweet spot for ice. I mean, if you're not telling people that you have, you know, 15 or 16 pieces of ice in a deck, you're going to start a thread of just madness. You know, like when
pure hatred.
When those NBN quick rush ones come that were like, you know, 3 pieces of ice, no ice. You know, people's minds blew apart for that, but they worked for what they did. But with this identity, you have to increase that. You have to run about 20, 21, you know, pieces of ice, because you have to make sure that you're getting the ice you need in your opening hand to use the ability. Obviously, if you're running low ice and you get no ice, you know, why are you running this identity? But that only leaves a small little playroom for your other deck builds. Like, obviously you need your agendas cards in there, and you're going to play with that composition to get your, you know, your required points in there. So after that, you know, you need a game maker, which is either your Sands, Biotic Labors, those Bioroid efficiencies, and then, you know, you also need the economy, and you need strong economy cards that are going to give you a lot of money. So I think now is the time to shine with this. I guess I'd also just pretty much talked about how I would use the power. so I don't know if somebody else wants to talk about using this.
I'll go. Dibs. Anyway, so with this card, obviously taking a vast amount of ice is ideal, and that's going to take full advantage of the identity as it is. Then the only things you need to worry about, you know, most decks you have to put in like, you know, 3 or 4 sets of cards that are going to be your boost, your win, you know, I call them the win condition cards kind of thing. This deck can...
I'm sure you're the only one that calls them that too.
Probably. This deck
Coined.
goes off of, it's not coined, it's like magic stuff, but it doesn't matter. This deck can utilize far less of those cards, and I say that you could make this deck with tons of ice, take full advantage of it, lots and lots of economy, and then like your only other 2 cards could be your Biotic Labors and maybe Archive Memories to pull back Biotic Labors. So you can do nothing but score out of hand, right? You know what I mean? Just set your agendas up so that you rarely have to make a remote, you know, and then you could just ice wall up in front of your HQ and R&D and not have to worry about a thing, you know? So there are ways that you could use this and use the power and use the build to just fully exploit it, and that's why it is so powerful. And that's even why it was powerful back in the day, even when it was kind of ill-equipped. It was still good.
I'm going to go on the other hand too and just say like a lot of what you guys are talking about is the Biotic Labor fast advancing style, and although I think, no, that's fast advancing. Rushing is advancing behind ice and actually keeping an agenda in play.
And now you know.
And knowing's half the battle.
The other half is
the
violence.
more you know, the more you grow.
Well, I mean, biotic labor and efficiency committees and shipment from Sands, like those are, I mean, agreed, phenomenal ways to play. But I think that this unlocks a new avenue of actually just scoring behind ice really early on. We talked about it with our Grendel video, that just being able to start advancing and just getting that extra turn just to get that bump, you know what I mean? I think we all agree that with every other identity, you can't really start advancing something first turn. But there's a good possibility that you could start second turn. This gives you a free turn, so like you've already...
Your first turn is your second turn.
Exactly,
yeah.
so you're already you're already putting them behind the 8 ball, and you're forcing them to like... And there's obvious hard counters to that, which I'm sure as a good player, you're not going to just start advancing behind, you know, one piece of ice, like a thin little layer of ice, if they're running Andromeda, because chances are they'll have account or inside jobs and stuff like that. But I mean, first turn you can theoretically have an ice over HQ, an ice over R&D, an ice over remote server. First click is to install another ice over your remote server, install a card, and put an agenda down. And I mean, and you don't even need to put the agenda down. You could save that as an income card and get more income, and then just you know, start advancing that way. Do like a never advance. Your first turn, you could never advance out an ice, which is just it's obscene, and the speed of that, and like the fact that and we agree that it's just coming into play now, where we think it's going to be pretty competitive. Like we thought again it was good before, but we think it's going to be competitive now. Once the card pool grows and stuff complements this even better, like we haven't even seen all the next ice, and I think I'm gonna say it right now, next Brawn is my favorite HB ice. Like I love it, and I don't think it's the greatest right now, but I think that once the other next ice come out, it's gonna be ridiculous. But
is it confirmed that there is going to be more?
Well, I mean, they have next bronze, and it says all other next ice.
Yeah.
So
well, it might just be referring to itself, though. We don't know yet.
It could be. So I'm assuming that there's going to be a next silver and a next gold. And I don't know. I think that when the card pool grows, I think that I'm going to just call it, and I'm going to say that this is going to probably, if not place at Worlds, win Worlds.
Yeah, that's I don't even think that's a bold statement. I think that's safe to say. We already saw the dominance that is HB in tournament decks as is now.
Yeah.
Right?
And this is easily comparable with Engineering the Future. Maybe not better, but definitely not worse than Engineering the Future.
The trick with this one is those economy cards that you're putting in. Just because you get to place the ice does not mean you get to res the ice. Yeah. So having things there that can pop these ice up is major important. You're going to need money to pay for your biotic labors if you're using the sands. You're going to need money to res the sands and also put the advancement counters on it.
And successful demonstration in this type of deck. I mean, if you're not putting a lot of end runs in this deck, then I don't know what you're doing, because
yeah, it should be exclusively end runs.
Yeah. Now the thing about this is you said it gives you a full turn to start.
Yeah.
Rith, I think that the speed boost that this identity gives you is amazing. I can't even account it for a turn. Like, I know technically it's a turn, but you're already.
It's technically 2 turns, because it's 3 clicks worth of installs and 3 clicks worth of draws.
Right.
Like, it equivalently gives you 2 full turns.
Yeah, and that's where I'm like leaning towards here. If you're able to get those 3 pieces of ice in your opening hand, you're playing them, then you're drawing up. So your draw power is obviously incredibly powerful in a card game. So you're getting that off the hop, seeing more cards. Then you're taking your regular turn. Like, the possibilities of a start with this identity are just so phenomenally strong that, you know, I hope I'm expressing myself and not how crazy it is.
It's really hard if you're doing this right. It's really hard to have a bad start with this deck. That's the best way to say it.
That's the only thing too, and I'll save that.
What I also love about using this ability is the accelerated beta tests. I really feel that when you score them, or if you're using them with this, the chances that you are going to pull ice off that has greatly increased, because
it synergizes with the fact that you already want a lot of ice.
20 to 22.
Yeah.
I'd probably go 22.
Before, when you were looking at triggering that ability, it was such a risk, and we saw that in the match at Worlds. If you watch the Team Covenant video and you watch the team play, he triggered a failed accelerated beta test that forced him to pop an agenda into his archives there. Now that's going to happen, but this build mitigates for that. You're lowering that risk, so triggering that ability just works phenomenally, because that's another way that you're just fully putting out maybe another whole layer of ice out. So I think using this ability, there's just so much you can do with it. Countering this ability, who wants to stab that?
I mean, countering this ability is going to be anything that can jump thin layers of ice. So, I mean, we're talking Knights, Femme Fatales. Femme Fatales is a little more mid-game than early game, but I mean, if I think that you're going to score something, then I mean, I know in my deck I can get out a Femme Fatale pretty quick. Not that that's the best play, but and inside jobs are going to be brutal with this. I think other cards that are going to pair well, and I mean, maybe it's just my style of play, is Doppelganger. I think is going to work really well in this kind of style of deck, because you're going to want to make them res that ice, and put them into situations. So being able to, like, you know, start the run on HQ. If they let you in there, then you pop over to R&D, see what they want to do there, and then you pop over to the remote. They res the remote, then you pop over to R&D, and it's going to give you a lot of. It's going to give you a lot of, like, you know,
decision making.
A good criminal player, and anybody who's played criminal, is going to be able to exploit the fact that they are playing so much ice, and they're trying to bank on that. Like, that's their niche. Another counter, and it's not really a counter, is if you get really unlucky and you just don't get the ice in your opening hand. Yeah. If you don't get it, then you just lost the ability to play Engineer in the future.
Or exclusively ice.
You want to continue on?
Yeah, if you pull up a couple of hands worth of just pure ice and you don't get the money to res the ice, then really what good is it there for you? You know what I mean? Like, you're kind of stuck. I mean, yes, your hand is empty and they might make some empty prods down in there, but I mean, again, going up against Green, who is going to chug right down your R&D, like, you kind of will become a little bit predictable at that point in time. If you're kind of doing a whole lot of nothing, they know what's going on, and then making you spend the cash to res what little ice you can. And again, if it's HB, it's going to be Bioroid, could be click through. So if you've only resed a little and it's click through, I mean, you're stuck. Yeah. But I mean, that's with every HB deck, so it's not really a specific downside to this identity.
So counters that I feel that you're going to have to watch out for with this are people that are experimenting with the new Anarch style of stuff, increasing res cost, it's really going to play an effect to you because you're ice strong. And that's why I was talking about you really need heavy economy cards. You really want to take a risk on using the economy card. You might even want to put in Celebrity Gift just to give you that bonus. I know that there are the pluses and minuses of Celebrity Gift, obviously exposing your hand and using it out of faction, because with Jinteki, obviously, you know, you're showing them traps, you know, daring them to run in.
And if you're running 3, it's half your influence gone.
Yeah, right. So it is going to be...
Well, more than half.
Yeah.
More than half, 9.
Sorry.
So the Anarch style of, you know, Xanadu's, Reina Rohan, you're adding and draining their money. The other counter to this deck is, I don't really know how to explain this, but I'm just going to say it's like, it's the game. And what I mean by that is the game is built to put ice up and for the runner to have a breaker to get in. I really think the only counter to this is when they get set up. If someone has their full breaker suite out, then obviously just like anything, right?
And a Katie. They get a Katie Jones too.
I think they're just going to be able to run it. And that's what runners do. Is
and
they make runs.
I think the ability mitigates that, because again, this is a rush style deck, and you're looking for early to mid game wins with this, obviously. And that's what anybody who read the new article from Lucas talking about the lunar cycle, he said that the game breaks down into the 3 phases, which is the early game, the mid game, and the late game, and it's always swayed more towards the runner, because the runner is going to be more aggressive early game, and the mid game they're kind of comparable, but by the late game the runner's all set up and there's basically nothing that can stop them. So you're working around bluffs and all that stuff. This mitigates that because it brings the early game on par, and it makes the mid game on par. So I mean, you have to be planning for that style of win. I don't think this is a fast advanced style, biotic labor style kind of deck. I think that this is. I probably would skip the biotic labors in favor of just more income cards. You know, I like the idea of archive memorying just insane income cards and playing those. Like, I played your cerebral imaging deck, and you were archive memorying Celebrity Gifts, and you were making money like I've never seen before. People who focus on that kind of style of play, it's gonna be so hard to get past.
Yep.
And we played a game. I mean, granted, it was a very early iteration of the deck that you're going to be using, but the runs were just taxing, and it was just like, it was so hard to get through. And I think you might have learned a little bit of a lesson with using as much Bioroids as you did, maybe putting more hard end runs in, because I mean, we could spoil it. Wotan doesn't really stop you if you don't want to be stopped. 2 times I scored behind a Wotan.
Well, that's just because you're reckless.
Reckless winner. That's
also, you're gonna look for. You're gonna, like we said, you're gonna need money. So ice, like Viper, that has traces. Anything that has trace on there. You look at some of the top runners in the game. Andy. You have Kate. Like, they're already starting with a link, and what you're going to end up doing is draining your own economy to boost traces, to try and stop them on one piece of ice. That's not where you want to be focused on. You don't want to be dropping your economy into boosting one trace.
Yeah.
Right? Boost an end run trace. Okay, end the run. Now they're just going to run on their second one.
That's why I think next bronze is just so powerful. It's a solid code gate end run,
that's flexible,
for
right?
just cheap, and yeah, just and I don't know.
Predictability. I believe this deck is incredibly predictable, but it's also, you're just playing the game, getting that speed boost at the beginning. So predictable, you know that they're going to ice up and try and not fast advance like Squid said, just rush. This is a very quick moving design.
I've got a very direct point, so I want you to say your your predictability?
I don't think that the style of play that you're going to take is probably going to be predictable after the first couple of turns of the game. They'll know what you're about. But the thing is that trying to decide where to go to find the agendas is going to be very difficult in a deck like this, just because the amount of ice that's going to be out is going to be kind of stopping you at all turns, especially early game. So it's going to offset that quite a bit, I think. So, I mean, you may go, you hit the hand, maybe get lucky, you get in, you waste your whole turn breaking through a Bioroid, see something, see nothing. You're like, okay, next I'm going to try R&D. Well, that's a crap and shoot too, right? Because that's, one in every 4
with
or 5
how taxing
cards.
it's going to be, you're right there. You're not making multiple runs.
No.
You're going to have to know, like, zero in, like, either I'm going to run that R&D till the cows come home, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they've just put something out. You probably know it's not going to be a trap, so that's one good run through there, right?
Multiple access cards will be huge in this too.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that at first when I was thinking about the predictability of this card, I thought I'm going to say it's incredibly predictable. I think that as soon as I sit across the deck, and I played you, and I knew every time you advanced, and I knew the source would be king in that deck because it was going to force you to start advancing. But I mean, that was our first game playing, and I'm sure the next game we play is going to be a lot more favored in your play. But I'm going to just say one quick thing. I think Andy is incredibly predictable too. Does that mean she's not strong?
Yeah.
No, she's good.
No, I agree. We're not saying that it's not that this is.
I wasn't trying to say that that's what you guys were saying.
No,
I just it just came to me, and I was just yeah, it's predictable, but Andy is just as predictable.
These
and
identities
crushes us.
that give you bonuses at the start of the game are just so powerful. It's if you're not taking advantage of these cards, you might. I don't want to say that you're going to be missing out, but these pre-game bonuses, like the starts, are just incredibly good.
That's something to say.
Corpse?
It's the early game, it's the pre-game draw. That's the mechanic that does it. Because with pre-game draw, and you get to see all that extra stuff, right? You get the benefit of choosing the best possible thing to do from a wide variety of cards to fit whatever situation you're in. That's why Andy's good.
Yeah.
Andy's good because you can take a look at the Corp's first turn and go, okay, here's my 9 cards, and here's the best, most efficient way I can beat them at this moment, right? And with the next design, with next design, it's the same thing. You open your hand up, you see this huge hand. I get to play 3 of these ice where I want for free, and then draw 3 new cards, right? So it's the exact same thing, but just the tables have turned. So that's why it's so
like
good.
we said, it's moving that pace of the game.
Yeah.
Where you're controlling the board state more with next design.
And I think the income too is kind of something that we've touched on a lot, and the more I think about it is, yeah, you're going to need more income cards, but you're going to need less income because again, and I said this before with the Grendel video, you're going to want early to mid game ice. Like all that late game ice is kind of lost in this thing. You want to be aggressive and rush it, right?
You could have a couple. I'd say maybe 4 is the right number if you take in 2022, just because the Bioroid,
that's all you need for huge ice.
the Bioroid efficiency is going to completely counteract that, right? So $3 to res
Again,
a Janus, right?
I don't know if I'd play Bioroid.
So the last point we have to touch on when we talk about an identity is influence. With next design, you are sitting at only 12 points to play with.
Income.
How are you?
Income.
Yeah, I'd go
income or income related. So like shipments from Sand, that would be dynamite, right? Because especially if you include
how much influence is shipment from Sand?
1 or 2.
It is. I think it's only 1.
But either way, if you have biotic labor, then you can spend your money in the biotic labor, and then shipment from Sand, the other. You know what I mean? Like there's so many great things.
I think you want to use like couple things like that, and like we've talked about before. If you have efficiency committee, those shipments from Sand.
Yeah, they just become insane.
So you do want to use the economy cards as your splash, and then obviously so shipments from Sand was 1.
1 splash.
So I'm calling it right now. 3 celebrity gifts, 3 shipment from Sansan. That's what I would run for my employees.
I'd kill the celebrity gift because that's going to really hurt the predictability.
He hates that card.
There's no downside. There's no downside. Like there's no the upside is the money, but then there's no downside for the runner to just okay, so you got nothing in your hand, cool, I'll go there then. You know what I mean? It takes the predictability thing.
But there's also I think you're going to see a lot of people try Sansans out in this because once you pay that 6, you are saving, and that's going to couple with getting some of these agendas out a lot quicker. But yeah, you do not need to splash ice into this.
No. If there's one faction that has a lot of ice, it would be the only one.
As long as it ends run, you're good to go.
You know, and you might see Oversight AI to try and pop something, but again, I don't feel that's needed because if you're running majority of HB, you have Bioroid ice, and Bioroid efficiency is kind of what you need just to get those bigger ones up when you need it.
Yeah, you turn a Janus into a first turn ice. It's just
HB has good ice. Make sure that you are aware of where you're placing your ice. You know, coupling it.
So I shouldn't do it with my eyes closed?
No, I just mean like what you pair it with. Like, obviously, if you have something that's all clickable, right? You just don't want someone to be like pay for the first one and then click through the next 2, or
or as long as you stack enough clicks that they can't physically break through it with the clicks because they just don't have enough.
But even that though, right? Like you're not forcing them to really. They're still making that one good run, and then paying for only when they need. Right? Like they're not afraid to use click throughs. You want to top final thoughts?
My final thoughts is this is the final set in our 3 like super powered agendas.
Identities.
I think we'll see this at Worlds. Like I said it with Harmony MedTech, I said it with Grendel, and I'm going to say it with this one because I think these are the 3 best corporate identities / agendas out. I thought you were gonna laugh. Bad joke. Yeah, I think this is incredibly powerful. I mean, the only downside I could see is maybe people being trapped into using too many Bioroids, which I think that these guys are kind of stuck on. And then just not, like, if you don't get the 3 ice, mulligan. And then
you'll get them. If we got 20 or 22 in there, you're gonna get them.
Cool. What do you got?
I think it's a great identity. Like it's definitely better than good, and as time goes on and the card pool expands, it just keeps getting better and better. I think that I don't share your sentiment that it will be the World's winner, and you know what I mean. I think that it's going to be pockmarked in there here and there, but I think we're still going to see probably domination, Whalen, Genteki, NBN over top of HB, probably just due to sheer numbers that play those, and we'll see better players paired with those types of decks, sort of thing. So I think it'll be in there, but it's not going to be dominant. Yeah, that's basically it. It's good.
From the making of this video and the identities you have to choose from as a corporation, I think Next Design will be the highest placing in tournament corporation card out of everything that's out available. That's like, we might see something obviously maybe in the next pack or in the Honor and Profit that just swings this curve another way, but the boost you get from using Next Design is just so game-changingly phenomenal. If you don't pull anything else away from this video, just take that. There's really not much more to say about that.
Drop the mic.
Yeah.
Flip the table.
I'm trying to quickly think of some crazy next pun that we can end this with.
God, puns. I hate puns.
But I can't.
Next bad time.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate you watching. Let us know what you think about Next Design in the comments below. Let us know your identity predictions in the comment below.
That'd be a good one.
We appreciate your subscribes. It really helps us out, get our numbers. We really appreciate when you give this the thumbs up.
Tell a friend.
Yeah, share the
And
videos.
they will tell 2 more friends.
Yep.
And which in turn they will tell 2 friends.
Yep. It's like pay it forward.
And then we'll rule the world.
Wasn't his name Haley Joel Osment? Was that good?
Yeah, that's my name.
That's not your name.
Go on.
I'm
Is that the
Wolverine.
kid? Get out of here.
Thanks,
Bye.
you.